last of the winter daytime class series. Class 5 of the Metaphysical Interpretation of the Bible. It's all in the way you look at life, Becca.
It's a celebration of a new beginning tomorrow.
And I invite you to close your eyes if you want. And take a deep breath if you want.
That's for you.
And as we continue to breathe deeply and easily, we move into that greater awareness that there is so much more going on here than that which meets the eye or the senses. There is so much going on here. We are vibrational beings living in a vibrational universe. God or Spirit is all that there is, and we are individualizations of the infinite in a point of time and space as us. We are connected to all that is. Right here and right now, we open to that idea that says whatever God is, we are. And so this day we claim the wisdom, the intelligence, the intuition, the guidance, the prosperity, health, wholeness, joy, peace, and love of the divine. It is ours. We don't have to do anything to get it. It already is right here and right now. We stand spiritually straight and tall and know that God lives and moves and has its being as each of us, right here and right now. And so what else is there to do but celebrate? Celebrate who we are, celebrate the knowledge that we share, celebrate our amazing ability to be metaphysical interpreters of all. And in that joy, we simply release this treatment into all that God is, because we know that God is all, as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Kim McCurdy Ross has an announcement.
Yes.
Come on.
When Barbara announced that this class would be ending today, and she mentioned about spiritual living circles sprouting up throughout the country, I just got this intuitive yes resonance, because the best part of this class, one of the best parts,
I am but a servant of the divine.
that's the best part. Yes, is the community that Barbara has fostered within each one of us. And to me, I don't know about you, but the sharing of everyone in this class has been amazing, and I didn't want that to end. So, what I'm doing is starting a spiritual living circle here, starting next Tuesday, May 5th, 10:30 to 11:30. If you'd like to come out, you get free 90-day subscription to the Science of Mind magazine. We're going to be talking about articles from the magazine. Next week, there's an article on the bridge from manifestation to surrender, which is an awesome topic. I will be sending you all the information. You don't have to worry about doing anything. It's done. I just need you to sign up with your name, email, and phone number, and I'll get you all the information if this resonates with you. So I hope you'll join it. I know Stephanie's all excited about it. It's going to be awesome, and I know that whoever shows up is going to be the perfect and right group. So,
One of the things that I was sharing in the membership orientation class on Saturday was that once you're a member here, you can jump into any level of leadership. You don't have to put in a certain amount of time or get a lot of pre-approval kinds of things. It's not closed like that. And so when Kim jumped up and said, I want to do a circle here, great, go ahead and do it. And there are all kinds of things that if you decide you want to do, you can do. And to do it here is nice because you got the parking lot and the heat or air conditioning or whatever, but you can do things away from here too. So I encourage you to follow those intuitive hits and see if there's not something important that you might want to do. I know, Rick and Katya, you lead the Science of Mind 365 group often on Sunday mornings from 10 to 10:30 in the other room, which is a discussion group on the week's treatments in the Science of Mind 365 book. And people love that. They just go crazy about that. So good. Congratulations, Kim. And as we said, this is the last daytime group. I'm thinking I should do this every winter because it seemed like it was it seemed like it worked and that it was a good thing, in that there were weeks when Monday night was canceled and Tuesday morning was alive and well, because Monday night the sun is going down and things are freezing. Tuesday morning the sun is coming up and things are fine. So it worked out really well for us. Kristen?
I still have that Science of Mind book. If anybody doesn't have a Science of Mind textbook, I found one at Mr. K's and bought it really cheap. So come talk to me and I'll put it in my car.
Great. Is it a hardback, softback?
Softback.
Softback. Great. Great. Whose seat is that?
Shrewsbury.
Oh, okay. She's over talking to Nancy about signs to put out around town. Light of Wisdom School is rolling now. So last week you had homework to bring your own favorite Bible scripture or story.
Knock it down the door.
To bring your own favorite scripture or story, and we can interpret it. I know this is a fast class, but really the proof is in you being able to interpret your own stuff. Whether it's out of the Bible, whether it's a movie or a story or your own life story, to be able to see it from a higher level and glean greater meaning from the events that are happening. So who brought a story? Victoria, come on up. You're strong.
I am.
And you're eating.
She's multitasking.
Now you're teaching. I want you to present.
I would like to discuss John 3, where Nicodemus visits Jesus during the night, and he presents Jesus with questions, that about, and Jesus said that, you have to be born again. And Nicodemus is like, well, how can one be born again without, entering the mother's womb and stuff? So, those kind of things. And then he says,
But doesn't he say you have to be born by fire in that passage?
I remember by fire, by spirit was there. But then he says to him, what comes down from heaven goes back up. That sort of interpretation. And then he goes on, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son. So there's confusion for me in some of the, or not clarity, with some of the things that Jesus says to Nicodemus in that passage.
So let's go over the parts that are confusing to you again. What are they?
What's the passage?
John 3.
What's confusing?
The Bible looks into exactly which one was. But when he says, what comes down goes back up. And then, I know he's basically telling Nicodemus that, the higher consciousness is there.
What else?
Can you read that, Francis?
Yeah, do you want me to read it? Rabbi, he came to Jesus at night and said, Rabbi, we know that you are a teacher who has come from God, for no one can perform the signs you are doing if God were not with him. Jesus replied, very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. How can someone be born when they are old? Nicodemus asked. Surely they cannot enter a second time into their mother's womb to be born. Jesus answered, very truly I tell you, no one can enter the kingdom of God unless they are born of water and the Spirit. Flesh gives birth to flesh, but the Spirit gives birth to spirit. You should not be surprised at my saying, you must be born again. The wind blows wherever it pleases. You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. So it is with everyone born of the Spirit. How can this be? Nicodemus asked. You are Israel's teacher, said Jesus, and do you not understand these things? Very truly I tell you, we speak of what we know and we testify to what we have seen, but still you people do not accept our testimony. I have spoken to you of earthly things and you do not believe. How then will you believe if I speak of heavenly things? No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven, the Son of Man. Just as Moses lifted up the snake in the wilderness, so the Son of Man must be lifted up, that everyone who believes may have eternal life in him. For God so loved the world, blah, blah, blah.
Great, so what are your points that you want to talk about?
We're going to talk about the Son of Man being lifted up. And we know that, from our discussion in the Old Testament, we talked about when, Moses raised the serpent, that was the higher consciousness there. And then the Son of Man is all-inclusive Son of Man.
Well, of course, son would be what?
It's S-O-N.
Mm-hmm. Child, do you think that it's just talking about one person?
No.
No, so yes, it would be all-inclusive. And what we're talking about is heaven, right? We're talking about heaven. How do you get to heaven? Can you take me to heaven? What is heaven? What do you get around to stay here anymore?
I'm done, she's finished working.
It's all in the way you look at it, where Sherry Tree would say, that's your choice. So, heaven is what? State of consciousness, higher consciousness, a sense of our connection with all. So the question is, how do you get to heaven? And what Jesus says first is, what comes down comes back up. Those are Victoria's words, and I like them because they're always coming. It's not going up, it's coming up. Because whatever you're doing, coming down, coming up, you're bigger than all of that. Because everything is coming to you. So, if what comes down comes back up, what does that mean? B.
Well, I believe your consciousness comes down,
Mm-hmm.
and you start, doubting whatever, and your consciousness goes up. It depends on where your thoughts are, where your consciousness is.
Right, so here's someone saying, how do you get to heaven? They're asking that because they're not in heaven. One would think that their consciousness is probably down at that moment. And they're saying, how do I get back up to a higher state of consciousness? And so Jesus starts the conversation with Nicodemus off saying, don't worry, it's going to go back up. It's okay. It's like once you have a mental equivalent of something, you can never completely go back to how things were. If you've been in heaven, you're going to go back to heaven. And then he starts to say that you've got to be born again. And Nicodemus says, well, are we going to climb into our mother's womb? How in the world is that going to happen? And so he says, you must be born of water. Now, who was having people be born again in water? John the Baptist. But Jesus is saying it's not only being baptized in water, it is being baptized in what? Spirit. And I have also heard it translated as fire. That you have to be born of fire as well as born of water. You have to be born of spirit as well as being born of water. What in the world does that mean? That you have to be born of spirit.
Your consciousness has to be raised.
Yes. You have to be born again. You have to be made new as a spiritual being if you're going to get to heaven. Right?
Mm-hmm. It's a transformation.
It is. It's a transformation. I'll bring her of sweet cakes. Thank you. And then he says the Son of Man is lifted up. And what we already decided is this is not just one. This would be sons. Now, he's not saying he's the Son of God. He's saying he's the Son of Man. So when you're looking at someone who's feeling down in consciousness, I'm not a son of God, I'm just a son of man. I'm down in consciousness. How do I get to heaven? Let's raise this baby up. And he's saying that, don't worry, you're going to go back up. And you've got to have a transformation. You've got to be born of spirit instead of just being born of water. these things of the physical are not the end-all be-all to get you to heaven. And as was the little diatribe about how long am I gonna have to tell you people this? You don't believe me about the physical healings. How in the world are you gonna believe me about the spiritual realities of life? He said that a few times in his teachings. And so what this is saying is that don't worry, the sons of man, the lower consciousness ideas, will be lifted up to a higher state of spiritual awareness. And if we're going to talk about that particular passage, when the Iron Curtain came down, they did find a Bible from the 14th century that had in the outer area a handwritten note after John 3:15. And it says, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, and whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." And it was not in the previous Bibles. It was common at the time for the scribes to try to explain what was going on. They would put their own notes in there, and that one caught on really well.
Yeah.
There are Bibles that don't have that in them. I was really surprised that the Lamsa Bible does. So who's right? I don't know. But I thought I would just throw that out there since that has been used for so many centuries to put down instead of lift up. How fascinating the idea that it was added.
When was that added?
1400s? Yeah. But then how does Lamsa have the ancient Peshitas and the Dead Sea Scrolls? Because it's in the Lamsa Bible. That's one of the first things I did was open it up to see if it was in there. Like, darn. So I don't know, even though it's a news story and all of that, doesn't really make it true either. He may have skipped John 3:16 and added it. Oops, I'm not gonna write this whole Bible over. I'm just gonna scribble it in the end. Who knows? Because they copied it by hand. That was the scribes. That's all they do all the day. That's why the Gutenberg printing press was such a big deal, and the first book ever mass produced was the Bible. Nancy.
Okay, so, let's look at that part then. How do we interpret that metaphysically? The only begotten Son, if there's only oneness, then that's everything, right?
So Meister Eckhart said the eternal is forever begatting the only begotten. And he is begatting him in you now. He was a Catholic priest. I think, was he burned? Meister Eckhart? No? He was in trouble. So the word that catches us is only. For God so loved the world. Okay, there's only love. There is only love. So God so loved the world that he gave, he showed up, he brought forth into form his only begotten Son. The idea coming from the Father as Son. People are ideas. And whosoever believeth that I am God in form shall not perish, but have everlasting life. See, when you take it from a person to an idea or a thought, it has a whole different meaning. And when you take the word only and put it into a continuum, what, God is limited? God's only going to do something once? There is no limitation in the infinite. There can't be. So the eternal is forever begatting his only begotten. He's thinking thoughts that show up as us, creating people and ideas, and whosoever believeth in their true nature, their true Christ consciousness, their sonship, shall not perish. Doesn't matter what happens, you're not going to perish. Even if your body dies, you are not going to perish, but you will have everlasting life. That is just so different from, you better go up to that altar call, or you're going to burn in hell forever. Because it's Sunday morning and we know what you did Saturday. The first miracle Jesus did was turning water into wine. Let's party. You know, there's a lot of incongruence between even the written, the surface written stuff and the interpretations, much less when you put on your metaphysical interpretation hat and go and take it to a higher level.
Well, at that time, and in times until just recently, and still all over the world, water is not pure. To make it into wine makes it pure.
Right.
So
Make
I
people
think
not
it's-
sick.
I think it's the wine is the discussion of the purity.
Right,
So
the
we're
thing-
drinking the purity.
People drank wine and beer for centuries, maybe more, because the water would make you sick. And part of what kicked the Industrial Revolution in was the invention of tea and coffee. Something else that they could drink. Think about standing on a factory line. You're either drinking wine and beer all day, or you're drinking coffee and tea all day. That's what kicked the Industrial Revolution into high gear, was we found a way to drink water without falling asleep. It's true. I am a learned woman. So any other comments or questions on this? This is good, Victoria, thank you. Who else has another one? Well, pick one.
Okay. Do you want me to come up?
I do.
Okay.
Wait,
I don't know.
you are so pretty.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so, there's so many, I really like the Bible. I grew up really Christian. So Isaiah 64:8 says, yet you, Lord, are our Father, we are the clay, you are the potter, we are the work of your hands. And when I was in oneness, because that was always like, I have to be like shaped, and they always talked about how it was like hard and it was painful and all this crap.
You're the clay and what?
We are the clay and you are the potter. We are the work of your hands.
Okay.
So when I was in oneness, they talked about how we form God in our own image, and that's why so often God is portrayed as so judgmental, because we're so judgmental. And so I always flip it around. I don't know that this is necessarily the metaphysical interpretation, but I always turn it around, and I am the potter, and God is the clay, and I can mold God into anything that I need it to be to support me in my life right now. And that's always been like super helpful to me. So if I'm like having an issue, I'm like, oh, God's got it, because God is whatever I need it to be in the moment. So I really like that one.
Okay, great.
It's not really metaphysical though.
That's all right, we're gonna interpret it as it is.
That's right.
Thank you, Kristen. Isaiah 64:8. What does it mean that the Lord is the Father? Source? What?
Up top, the Father, the top.
Up top?
The upper part.
Seed? If you're looking at the teaching symbol, yes, it would be the seed, the idea that calls forth into form and manifestation. So the Father is that which thought forms children in the Bible. Children are thought forms from the original thought are coming from. So there's something that is set up that the we is going to be thought forms from spirit. So you are the Father, meaning you created us, you put that seed of the divine in me, however you want to wrap your head around it, and we are the clay. What does that mean?
We're malleable.
We're malleable. What else? Earth. We're of the earth. Okay. What?
Inert, clay.
Well, except it says that, well, okay, it could be inert. Okay.
Very passive and, doesn't
Okay.
take much action.
Okay, because the clay is not exercising dominion over its world, it is being molded by that greater something. Nancy?
We're that spiritual substance.
We are the spiritual substance. Great. Rick.
We're malleable, we're open to guidance.
We're open to guidance, we're open to be formed in the best way we could. You know, a potter doesn't just throw a lump of clay down and call it done. They work it, they form it into what they think its best clayness could be. So it says, you are the potter, and what does that mean?
Well, what, just to jump off from what Rick said, when he says that we are malleable, we are clay, and you are the potter, and we are the work of your hands, and to me that means that in God's likeness, you know, being formed into God's likeness itself.
Made in the image and likeness of, okay. How does that make you feel? This idea that God is the Father, and already you're triggering out our child.
Yeah.
And Isaiah is filled with uplifting, lofty kind of feel-good things. We are the clay and you are the potter. How does that feel? Not great.
Yeah.
Okay, if it doesn't feel great, you want to re-examine your idea of deity. Because if you have a God that is going to hurt you by forming you, then you still have that old, vengeful, can't be trusted SOB in the sky. So take a different look at it and move into this idea that whatever deity is in the Old Testament, in Isaiah, it is a loving, supportive, giving kind of an experience. And how would that feel, Stephanie?
That there's a energy in the world that brings the very best of me into fruition and form.
There's an energy in the world that brings the very best of me into fruition and form. It's like the flip in the Lord's Prayer from lead us not into temptation to don't lead us into temptation. Do not let us enter into temptation. It's this idea that something has our back, is giving to us, even when we feel like we're just a dumb old lump of clay. No, there are the hands of the Father, there are the hands of the Lord right now molding you and forming you in ways that you don't know to bring about the best that you are. That's the idea of this passage, is to make you feel better, not worse. To make you feel like there's a loving presence that is all around you and has got this, even though you can't see for a moment how good is going to come from it. That there is a process going on. B and then Stephanie.
I remembered in Hidden Mystery, he says the term Lord God means divine law. He's a creator. Since I had issue with the term Father, I have baggage. If I look at it, it is the law that I am created divine.
Right.
That is the law. That's what runs my being.
Right, and that your evolution is inevitable.
Right.
That you will be the amazing, magnificent being that you are created to be, even if things look like they're going awry. Yeah. This is supposed to make you feel better, this passage.
So going along with that, it makes me have a sense that there's all these parts of this oneness, and I have my place, my perfect place, and it all fits together just perfectly.
Right,
It's all working together just
Right.
as it should.
right, right. We are the work of your hands. I am the manifestation of the divine, and it doesn't matter if all I see is a lump of clay in my life. I am a manifestation of spirit. There is molding going on. Carol.
This statement, as its surface meaning, reminded me of my concept that I had a long time ago, the puppet master, and I'm on the strings.
Right.
That was a real good visual aid for me to remember that when I started getting jerked.
Right, so let's let the puppet and the puppet master go
Right.
and look at it more as a point of light,
Yeah.
a point of love that is totally loved and supported by all of life and beyond.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a whole, it's a different kind of reality. Laura, Sherry, and Rick.
Then I was a little with Carol, because at first I was thinking, so that means I don't have choice. But because initially I looked at the clay as possibility, and then when Bee brought up the law again, I like that better, that God is there to support me in what I choose and forms me to be that. Not that God says I have to do this and makes me.
Right, you can be an infinite number of lumps of clay.
Yeah.
And just because you've been formed doesn't mean you can't be unformed and formed anew.
Yeah, that's happened.
Hold on, I have Laura and Sherry and Rick. Okay.
And again, if we're all on the divine path, then it means that it's all good anyway, no matter what we're doing, no matter what state we're in, then it can only be love, it can only be what's good, it can only be light. That's the only possibility.
Right, good. Rick?
I see it as attending a class that you really enjoyed with a teacher.
Sure, mold me. I love you so much. Carol?
There's something that Kristen said that reminded me of one of the daily guides that signed for my magazine this month, where he says he doesn't care for the word co-creator, he likes director. I direct divine, infinite, creative intelligence. And that really was a light bulb for me. I like that kind of saying rather than a co-create, that means I'm outside of something else.
Right, you are directing law, however, also, you are a manifestation of the divine.
Right.
You are not just a law director. There is that nature within you that is loved and supported and given to. You are prospered and healthy, and so we don't want to just, I'm directing law because we have issues about the old-time God. We also want to be in connection with that amazing spiritual presence that is not only in us, but all around us and in everyone else. It's a dance. It's like I totally create my reality, and I totally surrender to what is. And if you're only one or the other, you're lopsided. Rick?
It brings back to the other word, I love it. It says, of the works of my hands, this is God saying this, and I don't know where it said, it's in the Old Testament. This is, of the works of my hands, command ye me. So that kind of takes it, that you are the potter, well,
Yes.
we're doing the commanding.
Right.
Then
Command
it takes
ye
a full
me.
circle.
There you go, Kristen. That's where you got it. Command ye me. This is God. If God ever says anything to you in your head, the only thing that God is saying is command ye me. Isn't that great?
And that kind of brings to mind how if you speak to most artists of any type, they look to their subject matter, in this case clay, and they ask the clay to tell them what they
Right.
are.
Michelangelo's David, he looked at that piece of marble and saw that his job was to bring David out of the stone, not put David in it. Yeah, it's a whole different reality. Wonderful, wonderful, yay, Kristen! Who else has something? Who had their hand up? Jane. Come up, come up.
But I don't have the Bible.
Come up, neither did Victoria.
Jane's birthday is today.
My birthday?
It's for
Yeah.
your
Is
birthday.
today your birthday, Jane?
Yes.
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jane. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much, I'm thrilled.
is of the younger son. And I just hate that parable. But I would love to have it discussed and explained.
Which parable is it of the younger son?
Well, it's the one where the father has these two sons, and the older
That's the
son.
prodigal son,
Oh, what did I call him?
the younger son.
Oh,
Yes, the parable's actually about the older son.
it is.
Yes,
And
yes.
the older son stays with the family in the land and toils and tries to make everything, good and just grunges through his existence. Whereas the younger son, or anyway, he just leaps up and he goes and he has a wonderful time. He has prostitutes and everything going on. And then a couple of years later, here's this older son who stayed with the family and tried to do the best he could to make everything okay. And the younger son comes staggering back because he's too much drinking, too much whoring, kind of a jerk. And so he goes, so anyway, as soon as he comes back, God the Father says, "Oh, little one, I'm so happy to see you again," and he says that to the younger son, and he completely ignores the older son, who has stayed there and tried to do the best he could. So anyway, the parable, and it's about forgiveness, but I haven't forgiven the whole thing yet. So I thought I'd present the parable. I might have given a kind of a prejudiced
Emerson said, "That which you are, speak so loudly we can't hear what you say." You're fine, Jane, thank you. Okay, prodigal son, good parable. You got two kids, they get their inheritance. The older one says, "I am out of here, boy, I am gonna drink and whore around and eat and..." The younger one goes? The older one is the prodigal son?
No.
The younger one is the prodigal son. All right, let me take this. Okay. Okay, so the older one stays home. Yes.
The faithful one.
he's faithful and just
He does his thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so the story goes that there are two sons. What are sons? Ideas. There are two different ideas. They both move into their prosperity consciousness. And one of them says, the younger one says, party, I'm out of here, I'm going to go enjoy the fruits of the world without thinking or caring about the effects of my causes. The older one says, I am a thought form from this greater thought called my Father in his house, which is what? Consciousness. The house is always consciousness. So I am of the consciousness of my Father. I am going to stay here and do the work that I need to do to assure my prosperity for the rest of my life. The younger one says, I'm going to leave the consciousness of my Father and just deal with the world at a surface level and not do any of the work. I'm going to just enjoy the moment in life. And then he runs out of money because he has left what?
The source.
The consciousness of what?
Abundance.
The Father, which is prosperity. It's like someone who comes here and learns how to demonstrate a bunch of money, and then they say, well, screw that place, I got money, I don't need them. And then they're gone, honest to God, for a couple of years. They come dragging back, going, my life is a mess, all the money's gone, I'm worse off than I was before I ever came in here. Well, you should have stayed here. You should have stayed here, and then you would have had to do the work to stay in the consciousness of prosperity. So the older son stays in the consciousness of prosperity and does the work. tends the sheep, which are what?
Thoughts.
Thoughts. Takes care of the land, which is what? The material world, earth, consciousness. He's tending his consciousness. He's watching his thoughts. He's doing the work, and he has prosperity assured. But then this younger son runs out of money, and he's eating with what?
Pigs.
The pigs. He's eating with the swine. He's eating from the troughs of the pigs. He's fighting the pigs for the rotten food, and he goes, boy, this is stupid. It's called an epiphany. I could go back to my father, the thought that created me, father's house or consciousness. I could go back into that consciousness of clarity, and even as a servant, I don't even have to be the wonderful child of the master of the house. I can just be a servant. I just want to be around them. I just want to be in that energy. I just want to be in that house again. Even the servants are doing better than me. Jackie.
Does this all boil down to like first cause and then second cause? Because I was reading about in the garden in the book, the first cause is the God thing, and the second cause is when man starts making judgments and getting off of that. No? I mean, because he's returning to God, the God consciousness.
Right. Right. So you can look at that when he ran away and took his inheritance, he thought his inheritance was going to carry him through. And that was secondary causation.
Right.
And so his reliance on secondary causation was a reliance on the world of effect or condition, in this case the amount of money he had, and that ran out. Remember, Troward said if your purpose is dependent upon any person, place, or thing being the amount of money, then you've descended to the level of secondary causation, and that's the realm of doubt, fear, and limitation. And he certainly was experiencing doubt. Oh my God, what did I do? Fear, I'm going to die here. And limitation, he was starving and living with the pigs. So yes, so he returned back to that higher state of consciousness, returned back to first cause, to that absolute, and wasn't saying, I'm coming in as the amazing person I was before. He's saying, I'll come in just to be here a little bit, I'll do whatever you want. And isn't that what happens to us? We're humbled. You know, we get a big breakthrough, and then we just think we're hot stuff, and then we realize we have not done the inner work to sustain it, and so we are humbled and we return. Jackie, stop talking. Thank you. So here we are saying, I'm going to go back, and he does go back, and the father is what? Happy. So happy. Call all of the servants together. My son, my first oldest thought form. What does he tell him to do? Get the fatted calf. Now he doesn't want him to get the skinny cow, does he? No. He wants him to get the best. And not even a cow, but a calf. So he wants him to get the best that he's got, to throw a party, to call everybody, which are all the thought forms, together to celebrate. Thank God I'm back on track. You ever done that? Mm-hmm. I feel so much better now that I can see my part in this situation. Instead of hanging out in blame and resentment, I can see my part. That means that I'm freed up to come back into alignment with my true nature. And then, the one that's been working all the time, you know, what does he say?
What about me?
What about me?
Poor me, what about me? Have you forgotten me? I'm the one who's busted my butt here all day, every day since this guy left. Who do you think picked up his chores? It was me. I've been working like crazy. And you're happy to see that thought? So what happens?
The father says that you have been with me the whole time, and what I have is yours. So he didn't really see all that he had. He didn't realize it was all his.
Right, that thought form, as soon as we go into, oh, poor me, we lose what we have. We don't see it, we don't get it. And the father said, don't you know everything I have is yours? You know, he got his inheritance and he spent it. but everything that I have is for you. Are you good, Jane?
Well, no, so the older one, what does he get then?
Everything.
Yeah, but the younger one,
He gets to come back and live in the house and do his work.
well, but he also gets everything.
No, he doesn't. He spent his inheritance.
Well, he's still in pretty good shape. I mean, he's got-
Yes, but good shape and everything are two different things. When you come back into truth and you're willing to do the inner work you need to do, then you're in pretty good shape. When you do it for a consistent and long-term basis as a daily part of your life, you get everything. Now, might the younger son evolve into the same consciousness as the older son and get everything? Sure, but that's not in the parable.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that the younger son had all this, he had a wonderful time, and the older son the whole time, just worked.
Right, and you resent that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating to me, because you're the older sister. Jane, you get everything. You get everything. It doesn't matter if they had a fling. You get everything. There you go. Happy birthday. What a gift. A reminder. Who else? Rick. Come on. Was that your hand, Katya? Rick, okay. Two Ricks. Here, let me pin this on you.
Okay. I don't know where it's at in the Bible, but somebody can help me out here. It's where Jesus is, and I'm paraphrasing part of this, but Jesus is telling his listeners that he said, you say that there's 3 months or so much time before the harvest, but I love this. I've used it as an affirmation many times. He said, but I say unto you, lift up thine eyes unto the fields that are already white to harvest. And it's and he's telling you, lift up your eyes. Well, obviously it's not your physical eyes. It's to lift up your thought, your realization that your good is already here. And it's somebody could look it up. It's probably
John 4:35.
Oh my God.
It's such an inspiring thing, a lot of times, we pay attention, I pay attention to what is here, what is, and I get so caught up in it, that, literally you get hypnotized. And, and to my way of thinking, he's just saying, chill out, take a break, pay attention to the vibration, to what you're manifesting, and look at that and expect that. Your good is already here.
Right, you not only presented the story, but gave us the interpretation. Chris, thank you. Does anybody have anything to add to that? John 4:35. Lift up your eyes. You think you've got to wait? What level are you dealing with time? The level of the relative, or as Jackie would say, secondary causation. In 3 months, I'll get my harvest. And when you move up, when you lift up your eyes and see from a higher place, then you realize that your good is already here. Dealing at the level of the absolute. I think that's what so many people loved about Annie Ritz Malitz. There was no process in healing. It was already here. It was a given, right here, right now. Clella Ann used to say that all the time in her treatments. Right here, right now. There's no time element. Good. Rick, you want to come up? Thank you, Rick.
double teaming us on Rick's.
Yeah.
So it's like you say, with two Ricks, the idea is two wrongs don't make a right, but three rights make a left. That's in Rick 223. Anyway, the Bible verse that I always liked was, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I always thought that was a very positive statement. And that's Proverbs 23:7. But there's some baggage that goes with that when you read the whole section. Because in Proverbs 23:6, it says, eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. So,
But what is that, eat not the bread of what?
eat not, eat not the bread of him that hath an evil eye.
Wow.
Neither desire thou his dainty meats. So, for me, I'm seeing that as don't submit to temptations, because there can be
Is that what evil eye?
is what?
Is that what the evil eye does to you? You know, is that what it does in a
That's an interpretation, it could be.
What version of the Bible is that?
This is King James.
So eating is what? Are you done, Rick? Or are you staying
Yes.
up for this?
No,
So eating is what?
Digesting ideas?
Taking it into consciousness, partaking of it, making it yours. Eat not the bread. What is bread?
sustenance?
Life sustenance of him. What is him? An idea that has an evil eye. Don't take into your body or consciousness an idea that is not life affirming. That is what they would call evil. And Annie said evil is belief in disease and lack and limitation, that kind of thing. So don't let that into your consciousness, nor desire his dainty meat. Don't eat it, don't take it, and don't even want it. Don't say, oh, but boy, that sure looks tempting, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, but that looks really nice. You know, a little judgment, a little fear, a little blame, a little anger. That looks really tempting. No, that even desiring it will taint you.
Somebody's saying that really evil has a lot to say for itself. I mean, it could look pretty terrific to you.
Sure, a belief in lack and limitation. Haven't you ever been tempted and to feel sorry for yourself? Oh God, she just asks too much of me. You know, she wants me to be happy all the time. Doesn't she know what I have to deal with? You're tempted to eat of that idea that has evil, lack of life affirming.
That's right. Anger is very tempting.
Anger is very tempting. You are just filled with awakenings now, aren't you? You are. Anger can be very tempting, and I've had people say, I have a right to my feelings. And you do. You do, but if you partake of that, or even desire it, it will affect you, because you cannot separate that anger from the consciousness that creates anger, hence, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Kristen?
I'm sure you read it, but the last little bit is the morsel you have eaten, you will vomit up and waste
Yeah,
in pleasant words.
He did say that.
But I like that because it's basically saying unless you stay on those pleasant words or higher consciousness, it's all gonna be wasted with dropping down into eating some other stuff.
But it's all gonna be wasted into dropping down and eating this other stuff. What does that mean?
If you have like a few good thoughts or you eat of the sustenance of higher consciousness, it's not, you can't do that and then go over here and eat this crap and expect this to only be the only thing that gives you sustenance. It's all gonna get thrown up and it's all gonna be wasted.
So you're gonna waste the previous work that you've done, plus it's gonna make you sick.
Right.
Yes, throwing up is not a pleasant experience.
But by
Judith.
throwing it up, you're getting rid of it. And by getting rid of it, it may be triggering going back into that higher.
It might be only if you were going to be the prodigal son and come home. If you're gonna stay out into the wilderness and continue to
Right.
eat of the bread of him who has an evil eye,
Right.
you're gonna get sick for the rest of your life and never really get any nourishment. Because the only nourishment that works is that of a higher state of consciousness. Rick?
Kind of keep in mind too that the word rendered evil, I think from the Aramaic, it simply means unripened or undone, not finished yet.
Right.
So if you're looking, evil eye could be seen as an incomplete viewpoint.
Right, limited.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, if evil wasn't undone, if it wasn't simply an incomplete thought, then evil would be a reality, and it isn't. It's simply not done yet, it's a half-baked cake. And you look in with your judgment and go, all is lost, the party is a disaster. No, the cake is only half-baked. Evil is only partially evolved. Great.
So it's not bad then?
Nothing is bad. A little Shakespeare in the Bible class. Nothing is good nor bad, but thinking makes it so.
I really love that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. To me, it's become just lately intention. What is my intention with every single act I do? And it's either life affirming or it's life denying. But that takes care of, either I'm gonna go into the second part there or I'm not.
Right,
But it's
right.
the intention of every act, every thought.
Right. And if you keep your heart open and you are looking for the highest and best for yourself and everyone else, then no matter what the circumstance is, you're going to find your way. Stephanie?
In the way the story is told, there's another reminder that we always have a choice each moment,
Right,
which is reassuring.
right, right. Good. Let's take a break.
Okay, yes. If anyone has not signed up that would like to be part of the group, please see me.
It's between 40 and 50,000 hits a month.
And you know the time you're saying that, it's 11:11.
It's 11:11. So all of these, playing around with turning the camera on and the recorder, turn it on, push the record button. That really is having an impact. 40 to 50,000 hits, and the new website, which they're busy building on a mirrored site, which when it's time to have it go live, it'll pop back over to cslasheville.org. The new website gives Devon and Rodney a lot of data that we don't have access to, like the most busiest times on our website are Wednesdays and Thursdays. The most busy days are Wednesdays and Thursdays. The busiest time is 3 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. And it's just fascinating to me because for decades I have been saying my purpose is to spread the teaching of science of mind pretty much to anybody who will stand still enough, long enough to listen. And it's not to make $5. Most of the websites, to get a talk or to hear something, you gotta pay your $5. And I am a staunch believer that you cannot outgive the universe. And so all along, it's been, well, Barbara, you know, you could package these things up and you could have themes and all of these, and you could sell them like all the other people. I could, but then that is not in alignment with my purpose, which is to teach. To teach to anybody who'll just stumble on our website and click something on, to make it as easy, as entertaining, as inspiring, as enjoyable as possible, so that we can do what we have come here to do, which is to change the consciousness of everybody and every being on the planet. So when I heard that, I gotta tell you, it stopped me in my tracks. It just floored me. And the effect that we are having on the world is huge. I mean, even let's say somebody comes every day, that still isn't enough. 30 in a month out of 40 to 50,000, it's not enough to skew the numbers. There are so many people wandering around our website. And the new website is going to be more interactive and user-friendly and give us lots of data. Where did they go? Which talks did they click on? How long did they listen to them? Did they download them or did they listen to them online? That kind of thing. So I just am still in that state of, wow. Wow, could you imagine if 40 or 50,000 people were here? That would be a lot of trouble. So being able to do it online is fascinating. On Tuesday afternoons, these things start to get reworked and edited and put in a position where they can go up on the website, and then because it takes hours of uploading, it's usually Wednesdays and Thursdays that they're being fed up to the cloud so that all of that data can be available by anybody, anytime. It's just amazing to me.
When is it going live, do you know?
I don't, do you know?
No.
No. It's a lot of work to recreate.
Understand that, an approximate date, 1 week, 1 month.
Oh, no, let's put it out at least a month, if not a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to rebuild all of that stuff from scratch.
Wow.
So, so that's great, and I just wanted to share that with you if you weren't here. I mean, that, I say, everybody around the world is listening to us, and oh my God, they are.
And Barbara, it's very sweet when you talk about your purpose, because the #1 words put in to find the site are Barbara Waterhouse.
Yes.
That is a lot of us.
The
Number one.
for our website, that takes people to our website is mine. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Let's talk about the parable of the talents. That's the one that so many people say that's not fair. So let's look at it. There was a master who had 3 servants. The master was going out of town. And while he was gone, he gave his 3 servants different amounts of money. To one servant, he gave 1 talent. To another servant, he gave 2 talents. And to the 3rd servant, he gave 5 talents. And he left town. The one who got 5 talents immediately went to the marketplace and began to trade and to grow his master's money. He began to work. The one who had 2 talents saw the one with 5 go and grow, and he said, I'm going into the marketplace too, and I'm going to work and trade the talents and grow my master's money. The one who had 1 talent was afraid. And he said, oh, I have a very mean master. He harvests where he has not sown, meaning he takes things that I don't think belong to him. He didn't work hard enough to have that harvest. He just goes and harvests. Probably read that passage that Rick was talking about. Rise up in consciousness and look around and see the harvests that are ripe for the taking, instead of waiting for your 3 months to come by. And so the servant that was afraid buried the talent. And then the master came back after some indefinite period of time, probably had a 40 in it, 40 days or 40 years, some number of completion, and came back and said to the servants, what have you done with my money? And the one that had now 10 talents is all happy and says, you gave me 5 and here I have 5 more. And he said, oh, good and faithful servant. And then the other one that had 2 said, you gave me 2, I've got 2. And he said, oh, good and faithful servant. And the one that had 1 went out and dug it up, gave him this dirty old talent that had been sitting in the grass and said, you are a mean SOB, and I'm afraid of you. You harvest where you have not sown. You take what you don't deserve, and you have this one back, because I knew if I lost it, I would be in big trouble. And he says, what did he call him? He called him something, and then he sent him into, and this is recurring in the Bible, into the outer darkness where there was wailing and gnashing of teeth. That is a phrase, wailing and gnashing of teeth. And then the master said, or then Jesus said to the people he's telling the talents to, remember, for him who has ears to hear and eyes to see, to him that hath it shall be given, to him that hath not, even that which he has shall be taken away. Oh, what a story. What does that mean? Rick?
The mental equivalent. If you don't have the mental equivalent, even what you have in appearance is going to be gone.
Right. It was always the master's money for the one who only had 1. It was never his, and he allowed what to guide him? Fear. He allowed fear to make his choices for him. He wasn't going to risk. He wasn't going to go and try to do something. He was just going to try as much as he could to hold on and stay safe. And what happens when you hold on and try to stay safe?
Hell.
Hell. What else?
Backslide.
You backslide. What else? What happened to this guy?
He was evicted.
He was evicted, and what happened before he was evicted?
He was berated.
He lost.
Shall be taken away.
Yeah.
He had his money taken away. He lost it. If you allow fear to guide you and you don't try to expand, what are you going to do?
Shrink.
You're going to shrink. There's only 2 choices. You're either going forward or going backwards. Forgive me for the be here now. It's not in this analogy. It doesn't exist. Life is either expanding or contracting. You cannot stay still and bury what you have in what? What is it that was buried in?
The earth.
The earth, which is what? Lower consciousness, material form, is dealing totally with a lower level. And doing that, he lost everything that he had, and he lost his job as servant in the master's house. He was cast out, he was evicted, he was thrown out of that higher prosperity consciousness. Just like the father in the prodigal son, his house represented a higher prosperity consciousness. So this master is a master a higher or a lower? Higher. A higher state of prosperity consciousness that doesn't care if he hasn't put in all the work. He's happy to reap the harvests that others have sown. He has no problem with that. Bring it, baby. What have you got for me today? Thank you. Oh, you didn't sow that harvest. So what? God said, raise my eyes and see the harvest that is already ready. That I was not created here to wait for my good. My good is here now. So that level of consciousness, the lower fearful consciousness, could no longer live in the house of the prosperity consciousness because it allowed fear to freeze it, to hold it, to bury what it thought was its good in the ground of lower consciousness. And the result of that was, to him that hath it shall be given, and to him that hath not, even that which he has, shall be taken away. Jackie?
The law of attraction.
The law of attraction, there you
He
go.
focused on fear and you know. like,
Exactly,
that's
you
what
do not have a spiritual law called the law of fairness. It doesn't exist. There's the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, the law of mental equivalence, the law of reflection, a lot of laws, but none of them are the law of fairness. And I think that that was the whole purpose of this story, was to say that life is not fair, that you have to put it out to get it back. You've got to risk. You've got to set your intention. I'm going to grow this instead of I'm going to do nothing and hope that things go well.
And this is another reminder that there's these different levels. And so in this material seeming level, it's all wrapped up with the spirit for us to succeed or fail here. It's all to do with the spiritual world.
Right, right. For us to succeed or fail here has everything to do with the spiritual world. Exactly. And once again, in the Bible, everyone who did what God told them to do prospered. Even Job at the end, he got everything back. Everybody who is in alignment with spiritual law, who does what God tells them to do, does what the Lord tells them to do, prospers. Rick?
This reminds me of that passage we talked about earlier from Malachi, of proving how
Right.
and pouring forth a blessing.
That you cannot contain. Yes. Yes. Any other comments on the parable of the talents? Okay, I know somebody's working on the Good Samaritan. Do we have it? Jenny?
Yeah.
Magic word. Somebody.
Luke 10:25.
Luke 10:25. Boy, you come with chapter and verse.
Well, I didn't know it, so I would have to find out. I had no idea where it was.
None of us ever know it until we find out. What?
10:25.
Go, Luke. Oh, man.
Yeah, right. Well, historically, the Samaritans and the Jews were enemies. But this story talks about a Samaritan who comes along in his travels, and by the side of the road is this man who is ill and cannot take care of himself. So with the Samaritan who had lots of money or available friends and a cart or something, put him on it and took him to the nearest place to be helped and fed and taken care of. That's the obvious story, I think. Although I haven't read it for some time.
He was beaten, and several other people came by first, and turned him out.
And didn't do anything about it, yeah. So that,
Other Jews came by?
It was like a Jew and a
Went into a bar.
Yeah.
A rabbi? A rabbi walked by.
oh, right.
And
Everybody passes
Gentile.
Gentile.
A gentle Gentile.
Gentile.
Thank you. Presbyterian. Maybe a Catholic.
what happened when he stopped, Jenny?
I have no idea.
Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Well,
Do you know?
no,
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
yes.
It's a good story, the Good Samaritan. So what happened was the Samaritan walked by and saw this beaten, bloody man on the side of the road that everybody was just walking by, and he stopped. He tended to his wounds and he put him on his horse or donkey or ass or whatever he had and carried him to a local inn, a place where he would have a room and food, and he gave his money to the innkeeper and said, I have to go, I'm on the road going somewhere. I wasn't out for a stroll with days and weeks to just stay here, but I want to give my money to you, and you feed him and take care of him, tend to his wounds, and make sure he's okay. And then I think it said even, I'll come back, and if I owe you still more money, I will give it to you. So don't worry about any of the finances, just take care of this guy.
Also, the Samaritan was an outcast.
Sure, the Samaritans were the bad people. They were supposedly a lower form of consciousness. If people are ideas, not seen as not as good, which is a whole twisted thing to begin with. So what does that mean? Put on your metaphysical hats. What does that mean? First of all, what is that?
Jew?
It's a kind of a what? Thought. It's kind of a thought, kind of a person, kind of a thought. Remember, these are at two different levels. On the physical level, the Jews and the Samaritans were fighting. They were enemies. So and Jesus always has an issue with the Jews, that you think you're so much better than everybody else, and you're not. You're praying for everyone as a show, and you should shut your mouth and go into your closet and pray, that kind of thing. So this particular thought form was on the side of the what?
Road.
What is a road?
Yeah.
It's a path on what?
The earth.
The earth, going from one place to another, which would be, what are places? States of consciousness. So here is this thought form, this idea that says maybe I'm better than everybody else, but they're moving from one state to another. And maybe you've been on a growth journey. What is it? Another growth opportunity. Oh boy. And perhaps you have found yourself beaten up. Now, I don't think it said who beat up the Samaritan. Robbers. Yeah, so then you're looking at really low levels. Are you saying something, Tim?
I just had it on here if you wanted it read.
No,
Okay.
just does it
But it does
say
say
anything
robbers.
other than robbers?
It was robbers who stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead.
So he's almost dead, he's naked, means he doesn't have anything anymore.
So he's open.
What is robbers?
He's exposed.
Well, what would a robber be?
When they started,
Angry, violent, place of judgment, taking without giving. Watch out with the parable of the talents, even that which they have shall be taken away.
A place of lack.
A place of lack. Yes, good. So here is this thought form on a journey from one state of consciousness to another and finds trouble. When we are moving from one state of consciousness to another, is it uncommon for the old negative limited ideas to kind of jump us?
It's almost guaranteed.
Yes. And so they beat us up. And they take all that we worked for. We're going from one place to another. We're taking our stuff with us. At some level, we had clothes, you probably had some food. In that day, they always hid their food from other travelers, so no one would ask them for anything. That's why their robes had so many clothes stuffed with all kinds of stuff. All of their stuff that they were holding on to was taken away. And what Kim said, that left him open to new possibilities. And so who comes by? Some Jews came by, other like thoughts, and went, oh, we don't want to do anything with you. We don't want to acknowledge you. We're afraid somebody's going to jump us. We're just holding on. And then a rabbi walked by, which was really a shot at the rabbis on the physical level. But what else might it be on a metaphysical level? What might a rabbi be? Becca.
A teacher?
A teacher.
somebody who's been put into a superior
Person
status?
of authority?
Someone that you think, or someone who thinks they are superior.
Yes.
Jesus did not like the rabbis.
False prophet.
Yes, he called them false prophets. So someone who thinks they're all superior, well, what's in your consciousness? You're doing so well, and now you've had a pitfall, and you've sunk into the abyss. Well, I once heard a religious science minister say, go to the hospital and see them. They put themselves in there, they can get themselves out. That will be the rabbi walking along the road with a sense of superiority and saying, I'm not going to give you a helping hand. You are here by your own limited consciousness. So the rabbi didn't help, the Jews didn't help. A Gentile walked by and said, I'm not even of your religion, I don't even know what I'm doing here.
It's a messy place.
Can the rabbi also be a higher thought that doesn't have, that you haven't connected with in your heart, maybe just in the mind, or?
I don't think in the New Testament Jesus didn't like the rabbis. Read it, he has terrible things to say about them. You know, and it was are the rabbis and the Pharisees the same?
No, the Pharisees are the law keepers, the religious law keepers, and then the rabbis are the teachers.
Okay, because it was the Pharisees that turned him in.
Right.
It was, you know, Judas, but Paul and a great name. So the Gentile walked on by, and then the Samaritan, who everybody looked down on at that time, came, and what happened to the Samaritan when he saw the person on the side of the road? His heart was moved. He took pity. He had a little compassion. He said, wow, I can't just walk on by and leave this thought form struggling. And that's when a friend of yours says, oh, it's going to be okay. You're going to find your way. No, bless your heart has too much. When they say to you, you're going to figure this out. It's going to work out. You're going to be okay. You're all right. All you need to do is take a breath, remember who you are, and things are going to be okay again. Here, let me do a treatment with you. Let me put you back on your feet in your true state of who you are. And does it cost the Samaritan? Sure. Sure, nobody had to stop in here and go, it's going to be all right. You're going to be okay. Do you want to do a treatment? Do you want to talk? Do you want to go to lunch? That all costs the person giving it. And whether it's costing in money or costing in time or costing in, you know, emotional coin, whatever, there's always a price to pay for giving. But what we have learned is that if you don't give, then you don't what? Get. So this Samaritan had some wealth. Maybe his heart had been open for a long time, and he had been practicing giving for a long time because he didn't blink twice. He just picked the guy up, put him on his vehicle of transformation, took him to a house or a place. And what kind of a place is this?
Healing.
A healing place, a safe place, a place where he would receive food and water and care.
A place of nurturing.
A place of nurturing, so it's a way better place than the side of the road. Took him to a new place and said, now it's going to be okay, I've got you covered, because I come from a prosperity consciousness, so I have an abundance, and I'm going to give a bunch of money to these people and a guarantee that if it goes over the amount that you've been given, I'm good for it. Wow, what a wonderful consciousness. And so did the person die?
Probably not.
No. The person got better, just like we all do. Rick?
Goes back to what you were teaching earlier, was that those who have receive more.
Right, right. So the Good Samaritan's life, because he had compassion, opened up his heart and gave to someone else who wasn't a low-life scum. He was just on a journey from one state of consciousness to another, got blindsided by some limited, negative, fearful thoughts and beat him up. And then he was thinking, oh no, what am I going to do now? not uncommon for any of us. So the Good Samaritan gave to that, lifted it back up into its rightful place where it could be set back on the road of growth again. And you know that Good Samaritan got compensated from life because that's the way life works.
Well, and
Stephanie.
what I was thinking about that is it didn't stop him on his journey.
Right, he didn't sit there and hold the guy's hand.
No, he kept journeying on his path.
Right,
So
right.
it didn't stop him at all. It was
Right.
almost like a part of his journey.
Yes.
So he
Yes.
didn't jump into the rescue victim perpetrator thing.
No, all he did was pay the bill because he had a prosperity consciousness because he knew how to give. Becca.
Actually, and this just occurred to me, you have this person who's on his path, he's traveling, he's been exposed, and a rabbi is kind of looking at me like, okay, there was a guru who could have helped him who didn't, but here he had to find humility by accepting help from an enemy.
Yes.
Ah.
Yes.
So,
Many is the time we've been beaten up on the side of the road and humbled.
and it just kind
Yes.
of comes, the whole KISS attitude towards learning, keep it simple, stupid. Don't always look to the guru
Right,
or the bright shiny thing.
right.
Sometimes it's the most humblest of creatures who teach us and get us along our path.
Right. Right.
So,
Good, yay. Any other questions or comments, Jackie?
Well, the word correction comes to mind, and Jews thought that the Samaritans were unclean. I mean, it went beyond an enemy. It was deep-rooted conviction.
Right, which would humble you even more.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes.
So the correction was even greater.
Yes. Yay, thank you. Any others? Where are you here? Okay, what have you learned from this class? This was a very fast class. You got a lot of material. You were asked to be your own interpreters. What have you learned? There's more than face value to anything. Yes. Yes.
Let go of your prejudices.
Let go of your prejudices. Good. Good. What else?
Unconditional living.
Unconditional living. How many of you came into this class with a lot of Bible issues? Some of you still have them. Understand that there is good in everything. And those of you who still have this anthropomorphic deity, male father figure, authority, very unevolved God, consider letting that go. And you can try all kinds of different ideas for deity. You know, Kristen's got one that whenever she needs anything, she directs God. Tells God what to do. I am the potter and you are the clay. You go and do my bidding. And Wheat said she had some guy that she tells to peel her another grape. And very much part of this class is to demystify that concept of deity, to take it off the cloud and to be able to give yourself something to work with.
I know for me, this class has taken a lot of the pain out of my belief system in what I was taught growing up and stuff, and taking the pain out of, there was a lot of this, and now it's more like this.
So there was a lot of finger pointing and now there's more uplifting. Good. Stephanie and then Carolani.
well, I really know very little about the Bible. I come from a different tradition. And one thing that I've learned here is when we are gathered together with a good heart, and a good teacher helps, but there's so much juice and joy. It's just, there's so much to learn everywhere, every single where.
Good, good, good. Kristen, or Carolani and then Kristen.
I just, in a nutshell, something flashed into my mind. It's the perfect condensation or, concentration of what this class has been to me, I just bought a magnet. It's got a beautiful woman on it, very luxurious, and she's going, I don't expect everything to be given to me, just set it down anywhere.
What was interesting to me was, because I've done a lot of work on metaphysical interpretation of the Bible, and I thought I was all good with it, but a couple of the lessons that you brought up, like I still had a lot of stuff that sort of came up against it. So
We all have some stuff still.
Yeah. It was nice to work through some of that and get a deeper understanding of it.
Good, I'm glad. Rick?
What it reminded me of is when I was flying, no matter what the weather was, when we took off, snow, rain, when you went high enough,
So clear skies. You had the Maui to Paris run? What did you have?
LA to Maui.
LA to Maui. Every week, LA to Maui. Yeah, Captain Krebs. This is your captain.
Sit down, shut up, keep your feet off the seats, the hat's pretty.
That's what you wanted to say. Now John says that the captain of the Delta flight always comes into first class, thanks people for being there, and says, we want you to know that we know that you spend the most money with our airline. And we know that you have the most complaints. So if there's anything you want to talk to me about right now, I will write it down and we will get back to you. Wow. Money talks. Anything else? I want to do one more parable or one more teaching before we close. Anybody else have anything else? Great, we still have 15 minutes. I'm not going to write it down, it takes too long. Jesus was teaching the disciples, and they said, again, how do you get to heaven? That was the main theme. How do you get to heaven? Where is heaven? Is what they said. And he said, well, if you say that heaven is in the sky, then the birds will get there before you. If you say that heaven is in the sea, then the fish will get there before you. Heaven is not in the sky, nor is it in the sea. Heaven is within. And that was a big shift. It is still a big shift today. To have you say, heaven is not here or there, it's not up, it's not down, it's inside of you. So what do you think he was saying there? Keep in mind, you're looking at spaces of, mean what? The sky would mean what? Higher consciousness. And what are the birds? The thoughts, the high thoughts that live in that high realm of consciousness. And what is the sea? Lower, subconscious. And what are the fish? Ideas. Where? In the subconscious. So he's saying what? The birds, which mean what?
They've taken flight with ideas of higher
high-flying ideas, thoughts that are in a higher realm. And don't you sometimes get sucked into it, well, if I would just have some better thoughts, if I would just have some higher consciousness thoughts, I could have heaven on earth. So what is Jesus saying? No, he's saying no, it's not even on your lofty aspirations to have high states of consciousness thoughts. He's saying it's not there. You're still looking where? Outside. And what is he saying by the fish in the sea? It's not your subconscious. If I could just figure out these beliefs and these patterns, if I could just heal that so I would stop sabotaging myself, if I could just do that, he's saying what?
Again, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. It's not there. Where do you have to look? Inside. And he's saying, don't look at your thoughts going up into high states of consciousness, and don't look at your subconscious hidden powers. Look where?
Within.
And where within are you going to look? What? What do you mean your soul?
Your essence. Everything within you.
What essence?
That's what the soul would be, the essence within you.
So what is your essence? B. What is yourself?
Divine.
Divine. He's saying, look at the divinity that's already there. Stop waiting 3 months for a harvest. Raise up, open your eyes, and look at the harvest that's already here. Stop trying to get your thoughts to go to heaven or heal your subjective ideas so that you can be in heaven. Just look inside of you and see the divine presence that you already are. And that's where heaven is.
Is that the present moment?
It would only be able to be in the present moment. Yes. 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 Isn't that great?
Yes.
That's great. That's my favorite one, other than how long must I suffer you? That was the one where there was a boy with epilepsy who kept having a fit and falling into the fire. And the father brought him to the disciples, and the disciples tried everything they could think of to heal him. And then they said, well, we can't heal this kid. He's really bad off. So we brought him to Jesus and said, Lord, please heal him. We can't. And Jesus got really mad. This idea that you're not listening to me. How long must I suffer you? If you listened to me, you would know that if you had the faith of the size of what? A mustard seed. A mustard seed. Mustard was plentiful. It was a wild shrub. And have you ever seen a mustard seed?
Yeah.
Teeny, 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 tiny black dot. That's it. He said if you had the faith the size of a grain of mustard seed, you would say to what? The mountain. He didn't pick some little thing, he picked the whole friggin' mountain. With this little teeny tiny thing, you would say to this really great big thing, what?
Move.
Move. And what would it do? It would move. Yeah, this is good stuff. You know, it's like Ernest going, you only need 51%. Let's go here. All you need is 51%. Go for it. If you can't get there, go to a practitioner and have them lend you some belief and consciousness. Oh no, we say, oh, my thoughts have to be so lofty and pure all the time. And I've got to clean out all this garbage from my subconscious and my past and my beliefs. And he's saying, no, just look inside of yourself and see spirit, see God, and everything changes.
So free.
Yes, yes. For those who have ears to hear. Otherwise, they say, I don't know, it's kind of a mustard seed. What did Jesus talk about today? I don't know, something about mustard.
That's one interpretation.
God knows what people say when they come out of here. Anything else? May your experiences with the Bible always be light. May you always be comfortable in reinterpreting whatever anybody else is saying. Are you putting your hand up, Jenny?
I just wanted to thank you very much for this time.
We got Amy Ritz Malitz.
Yeah.
Yes. And we had Bible.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
So I will say again, I can't remember who that was who mentioned this last week or whatever, about speaking more about the Bible.
Oh, that was Mary Love.
But I've always been one of those who would love to have had a bit of that. And had that perspective that those who come in with that question and still needing that bridge might feel comforted in hearing a bit more. So that's my perspective on it, that if it were put in the same light, which this class would have presented, that anyone who had that issue with the lack of congruency or just whatever the contradiction was, it would just melt away. I believe that because it's so clear, and it's the lack of clarity, I think that was the problem, but it's very clear
So anytime I teach anything, it always comes out in my talks. And when you have 30 seconds to make your case as opposed to 2 hours, it doesn't really lend itself to the level of understanding that you're looking for. However, we can always say, go to cslasheville.org. Click on the free downloads. Don't forget to push that donate now button. Listen to the 5-week metaphysical interpretation of the Bible class, and then if you want to talk to me personally about it, I'm happy to do that. It's a whole different world knowing there's 40 or 50,000 people perhaps looking at that. I was starstruck with myself. Anything else before we close? This has been a good class. Laughter is very good. Take out what you're going to give. Where are my baskets? Nancy, could you get some baskets for me? We have new baskets. Ooh. Last week they were bringing the baskets up the stairwell and the money was falling out. I said, oh no, this is just wrong.
Are the others in your room?
I can't hear you.
Are the others in your room?
I don't know where they are. I left last night and I haven't been back up there. Three's enough. These baskets are handmade in Uganda. And because of the fair trade market and either 10,000 villages or one world market, whatever it was, then a lot of the money for the baskets go to the individual people, usually women, who are making them and their families. So not only are we delighted to have these natural, different colored weave, strong, sturdy baskets, but we changed the lives of a bunch of people by doing it. Yay, yay. So, as you hold your gift, what I know is that we use our talents wisely. We accept all of the blessings of life. We are not afraid to risk and step out, and life supports us in all of our giving by returning that to us, multiplied abundantly. I know that we lift up our eyes when the harvest seems far off, and we see that there are fields right here, right where we are, ready for the picking. And we pick that and take what is rightfully ours, a life that is abundant and prosperous and healthy and happy and whole in every way. We live the divine life that we were always meant to live, knowing that each of us is truly blessed. I know that each one of us comes together this day to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville everything that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is.
And so it is.
And this one gets to the back, just send it over there. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in. We live in a universe that loves us and supports us and lifts us, and at times carries us to where we need to be. We open our inner eye wide and see that divine presence within us and truly live heaven on earth right now. Our hearts are always open. We are filled with love and compassion for every thought form and every belief in our world. And we know that we always get where we're going. And I know everything in these baskets is blessed. That light that we are shines forth brightly in our giving, filling up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is alive and bright with God as us. It touches us and blesses us and heals us. It awakens us and uplifts us and carries us through to our divine place in life. And I know that no matter how incredible the room or great the class, that energy continues to go out to circle this world. And let's take it over to Baltimore and have the light shine on all those people and all of those thought forms that still believe in anger and violence. Let's lift them up into that knowing of the truth of who we are. We are spirit and form. We are beings of light and love, and all is well. And then out the light goes into the cosmos to carry that love and that light and that clarity of consciousness with it wherever it goes. And together we say, and so it is. I love you. I will see you on Mother's Day. Please come. It's going to be a great time.